Okay, so today we're going to deep dive into something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We always try to find these little nuggets, these little pieces of information that tell us a lot, about a situation in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
And in this case, we're looking at the political scene in Uganda.
Okay.
Specifically, the upcoming presidential election.
Gotcha.
And it's really interesting that the source we have this time is just one comment.
Wow.
One little online comment.
Just one comment.
But it's so revealing, I think you'll agree.
Yeah.
So
I'm fascinated to hear what it says.
Yeah, well, it mentions a couple of key players in the opposition.
Okay.
Besijye and Bobi Wine, who some people might know as Kagolani Sentamo.
Right.
They're both challenging President Museveni, who's been in power for a very long time.
I see.
And just the way this person is talking about it is really interesting.
Right.
They're saying things like, no one will allow him to play with the opinions of Ugandans.
Wow.
All Ugandan support,
Okay, so some pretty strong opinions there.
Yeah, some really strong opinions. And I'm wondering what you make of that.
Yeah.
Like, is this typical of political discourse in Uganda?
Well, Uganda has a history of, contested elections.
Right.
There have been accusations of fraud and violence in the past. And, back in 2016, even the European Union Observer Mission, they criticized the electoral process. They said it lacked transparency.
Oh, wow.
That it wasn't fair to the opposition.
So it's been a problem for a while.
Yeah, and there are limits on political freedoms in Uganda, too.
Okay.
So all of this just creates this, really intense atmosphere.
Right, so people are really invested in this election.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just some, abstract political debate. For many Ugandans, this is about their future, their hopes for their country.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel that passion.
Exactly.
In this one little comment.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because you have Besijye, who been this, long-standing challenger to Museveni. But then you have Bobi Wine, who represents this, newer generation of opposition.
Right.
He's a musician, he's young, he's charismatic, and he's really captured the attention of young voters.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can see how that might translate into this, very passionate language.
Yeah, for sure. And there's another part of this comment that I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
Because it actually accuses Besijye of working for Museveni.
Wow.
Like that he's not a real opposition candidate.
That's a serious accusation.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is there any truth to that?
Well, it's hard to say. Ugandan politics is very complex.
Yeah.
Alliances can shift quickly.
Right.
There are often accusations of manipulation and double dealing.
So it's hard to know what to believe.
Exactly.
So what's the point of making this kind of accusation?
Well, even if it's not true, it can still be very effective.
How so?
By painting Besijye as a sort of false opposition, it can sow doubt in the minds of voters.
I see.
Make them question whether he's really on their side.
So it's a way to discredit him.
Exactly. It's a tactic to try and weaken his support.
And I guess in a system where it's already so hard to know who to trust, this just makes it even more confusing.
Right, because if you can't even trust the opposition, then who can you trust?
Exactly. And this comment goes on to say that all Ugandans support Bobi Wine, which... Come on, is that even realistic?
Well, you have to be careful with statements like that.
Right.
Social media can be a very powerful tool for mobilization and for expressing dissent, but it's not always representative of the entire population.
So just because you see a lot of support online doesn't mean that everyone feels that way.
Right, and especially in a context like Uganda, where independent polling might not be reliable. You can't just take these online pronouncements at face value.
So how should we be thinking about these kinds of statements?
Well, I think it's all about critical thinking,
Okay.
We're bombarded with information all the time.
Yeah.
Especially online. And we have to learn how to sift through the noise, figure out what's real, what's biased, what's just plain made up.
And that's true for anything, really.
Absolutely, whether it's politics or news or even just, what your friends are posting on social media.
Right.
We have to be critical consumers of information.
Yeah, and I think this one comment really illustrates that.
It does.
I mean, we've seen so much in just this one little snippet. The passion for change, the distrust of the system, the way that accusations are used to shape people's opinions.
It's all there, and it really highlights how important it is to, look beyond the surface and dig deeper into the complexities of the situation.
And I think it leaves us with a really interesting question for all of us to think about.
What's that?
As outsiders to Uganda,
Yeah.
how do we make sense of what's going on politically? What resources can we use to really understand the situation?
Right, to go beyond these little snippets and these glimpses.
Exactly, and to really grapple with the complexities.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's something for all of us to think about
Definitely.
as we try to engage with the world around us.
For sure.
So thanks for joining me on this deep dive,
It's been a pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.